My husband's ex claimed she was entitled to our family's heirlooms. She said, I was here first. I smiled and replied, and you'll leave last. She was shocked when the court ruled against her. I never thought I'd be standing in a courtroom, staring down my husband's ex-wife, fighting over family heirlooms that were never hers to begin with. But here we are. I met Daniel 4 years ago. He was kind, steady, the kind of man who made you feel safe just by being near him. It didn't take long for me to fall for him. He had been married once before, but it was over and done with. At least, that's what I thought. Turns out, some people just don't let go. His ex-wife, Sophia, had been out of the picture for years. No kids. No shared property. No ties left. But the second Daniel proposed to me, she made it her mission to insert herself back into his life. And the worst part? She thought she still had a claim over him. Over his family's history. Over me. Daniel proposed with my grandmother's diamond ring. It was beautiful, a simple gold band with an oval-cut diamond, a piece of history that had been passed down for generations. My grandmother wore it for 50 years before she passed. Then my mother held on to it, waiting for the right moment. That moment came when Daniel got down on one knee. I loved the ring. But more than that, I loved what it meant: family, love, commitment. I had no idea it would start an all-out war. The night Daniel posted our engagement photo, his phone blew up. At first, we didn't think much of it. Lots of congratulations, family and friends reaching out. Then he checked his messages. Sophia, that ring should have been mine. Excuse me? What? She hadn't been in his life for years. Now, suddenly, she thought she had a claim over my engagement ring? Daniel didn't reply. He blocked her. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. A week later, I heard knocking at the door. I opened it, and there she was. Sophia. Dressed to the nines, designer purse on her arm, smirking like she had something to say that was going to ruin my day. She didn't even greet me. She just crossed her arms and said, I was here first. I stared at her. Was she serious? Before I could reply, she nodded toward my ring. I know Daniel proposed with my ring. I laughed. Out loud. Your ring? I said. No, honey, this is a family heirloom. She scoffed. Like I was the delusional one. His mother promised me that ring when we got engaged. I was supposed to have it. Oh. So, she was insane. Daniel's mother never liked her. I knew for a fact she never promised Sophia anything. I didn't argue. I just shut the door in her face. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. A few weeks later, we got served. Sophia was suing us. Let me say that again. She filed a lawsuit over family heirlooms that were never hers. She wasn't just coming after my ring. She wanted my engagement ring, Daniel's grandmother's wedding band, a handcrafted wooden clock that had been in his family for generations, a set of silverware from the 1800s. Her argument? She was married to Daniel first, so she should have been entitled to these things. Never mind the fact that the ring was my family's, not Daniel's. She never owned these things during their marriage. She cheated, left, and never fought for these items in the divorce. None of that mattered to her. She wanted to hurt us. She wanted to make me feel like a placeholder in her old life. I wasn't about to let that happen. The day of the hearing, she walked in wearing a white dress. I am not making this up. She sat down, crossed her legs, and gave me a smirk. Like she thought she had already won. Then she took the stand. Her argument was ridiculous. Daniel always intended for me to have these things. We were young. We were in love. These were supposed to be part of my life. The judge was not impressed. Then it was my turn. I walked up, looked her dead in the eyes, and smiled. You said I was here first. That may be true. I leaned in. But you'll be the last one to leave. Her face dropped. She knew. She knew she had lost. Our lawyer calmly pointed out, the ring was never Daniel's to begin with. She had never owned or had a legal claim to the other items. She walked away from their marriage without contesting anything. The ruling came in our favor. She got nothing. I thought that was the end of it. But Sophia wasn't done. She took to social media. She posted long rants about how I stole from her. How I was a gold digger. How Daniel had betrayed her. Big mistake. We sent one letter from our lawyer. If she didn't take down the posts? Defamation lawsuit. Everything was deleted within an hour. And then, karma did its thing. Turns out, Sophia had a sugar daddy funding her lifestyle. And guess what? He saw her little court stunt. And he dumped her. Her perfect life? Gone. Meanwhile, Daniel and I were stronger than ever. And the ring? Still on my finger. I thought that after the lawsuit, Sophia would disappear. I was wrong. For a while, things were quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl because you just know something bad is coming. Then, one morning, I got a text from an unknown number. Check your mailbox. My stomach dropped. I went outside, and there it was, a small black box sitting inside the mailbox. No return address. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with one sentence written in red ink: enjoy it while it lasts. There was also a cheap plastic ring, the kind you get from a vending machine. I felt my hands shake. Daniel saw my face when I walked in and immediately asked what was wrong. I handed him the note. His expression darkened. She's insane, he muttered. We checked our security cameras. The footage showed a car pulling up at 3 a.m., but the plates were covered. A woman in a hoodie stepped out and dropped the package into our mailbox. We couldn't prove it was Sophia, but we both knew. And she wasn't done. A week later, Daniel came home furious. What the hell is wrong with your friend? He snapped. I blinked. What? He threw his phone onto the table. His screen was open to an email from a fake account. It was a screenshot of text messages, fake ones, obviously, where I was supposedly planning to meet up with another man at a hotel. The sender's name? sophiaisbetter@gmail.com. I left. Daniel didn't. She's trying to break us up, he said through clenched teeth. We both knew it was fake. Sophia had no idea how solid we were. But the fact that she went this far, it meant she was desperate. I wanted to ignore it. I wanted to be the bigger person. But when someone is this unhinged, you have to shut them down hard. So, I replied, Hey Sophia. Love the creativity, but next time at least spell my name right. Then I forwarded it to our lawyer. I work in marketing and my company has a strict reputation policy. Sophia must have found out because 2 weeks later, my boss called me into his office. We received an anonymous complaint about you, he said. He turned his screen toward me. There it was, an email accusing me of inappropriate workplace behavior. It was signed by a fake employee. The email claimed I had been caught having an affair with a coworker and that I was using company resources to cover it up. I almost laughed out loud. Sir, this is insane, I said. I can tell you exactly who did this. Thankfully, my boss believed me immediately. I figured it was fake, he said. But I needed to tell you. This person is trying to ruin you. We traced the email's IP address. It was from an internet cafe near Sophia's apartment. We finally had proof. And I was done playing nice. Daniel and I sat down with our lawyer. We need to escalate this, I said. She's harassing us. She's trying to destroy my life. Our lawyer nodded. We have enough to file a restraining order. Perfect. But I wasn't done yet. I had one more trick up my sleeve. Sophia had a sugar daddy, right? The guy who dumped her after the lawsuit? Well, guess what? I found out he was married. And I had screenshots. So I did what any petty person would do. I found his wife on Instagram and sent her everything. Every single text. Every hotel receipt. Every Venmo transaction. Less than an hour later, I got a message. Thanks for the info. Don't worry. She's about to lose everything. I smiled. Sophia had no idea what was coming for her. And the best part? This was only the beginning. After sending those screenshots to the sugar daddy's wife, I expected fireworks. I didn't expect an invitation. A few days later, I got a DM from her. I think we should meet. Call it mutual interests. I won't lie, I hesitated. I wasn't sure if this was a setup or if I was about to walk into some Real Housewives level drama. But my gut told me to go. So I did. We met at a cafe in the city. She was polished, mid-40s, the kind of woman who could destroy you with a single well-placed insult. She sipped her espresso, looked me up and down, and then said, Tell me everything. And I did. I told her about Sophia's fake lawsuit, the mailbox threats, the emails, the attempt to get me fired. When I was done, she sighed. I knew my husband was a cheating bastard, but I didn't realize his side piece was this pathetic. She smirked. Let's ruin her. That's when she pulled out her phone and showed me something that made my jaw drop. Sophia wasn't just a gold digger. She was a fraudster. The wife had bank statements, text receipts, even hotel bookings, but not just with her husband. Sophia was scamming multiple men. She was getting monthly allowances from at least 3 different guys while pretending to be exclusive to each one. One of them? A married politician. And the wife had proof. That's when the idea hit me. You said you wanted to ruin her? I asked. She smiled. Oh, absolutely. Step 1. Send everything to the married politician's wife. Step 2. Leak her sugar baby activities anonymously to her boyfriends. Step 3. Make sure Sophia had no idea who did it. It worked too well. Within a week, the politician cut her off and went full damage control. Her other 2 sugar daddies blocked her and ghosted her. Her credit cards started bouncing. And then, she did something truly insane. She showed up at our house again. It was raining. I remember because when I opened the door, Sophia was standing there soaked, mascara running down her face. She wasn't smirking this time. She looked desperate. You did this, she hissed. I crossed my arms. Did what? She stepped closer. You ruined my life. I just blinked at her. You did that to yourself. That's when she lost it. She started screaming, banging on our door, demanding that Daniel come out. Daniel finally did. He took one look at her and sighed. Sophia, leave. She laughed, the unhinged kind. I had everything before you. You took it all. Daniel shook his head. You had everything, and you threw it away. And then, like the psychopath she was, she dropped to her knees and started crying. That's when the cops pulled up. See, we had already filed a restraining order after the emails. She wasn't supposed to be within 500 feet of our home. And now? She had just violated it. The cops didn't even hesitate. One officer stepped forward. Miss, you need to leave or we'll have to take you in. Sophia snapped her head up, eyes wide. Wait. No, too late. Within minutes, she was in handcuffs. As they put her in the car, she turned to me, eyes filled with hatred. This isn't over. I smiled. Oh, honey. It really is. And the best part? Sophia still had one more downfall coming. And she had no idea. After Sophia's arrest, I thought that was the end of it. I should have known better. Even behind bars, she wasn't done. Daniel and I didn't go to the hearing for her restraining order violation. Our lawyer handled it. She got a fine, a mandatory psychiatric evaluation, and community service. But a week later, something unexpected happened. Daniel's mother called. You need to come over. Now. Her voice was shaking. We dropped everything and drove over. When we walked in, she was sitting at the kitchen table, a stack of old letters and photographs in front of her. Her hands trembled as she pushed them toward Daniel. She sent these to me. I grabbed the top letter and felt my stomach turn. It was from Sophia. And inside was a photo of Daniel and Sophia on their wedding day, with a note written in red marker. He will always be mine. Daniel's mother was pale. She wrote that she was going to take him back. That she would fix her mistake. And that you are just a temporary distraction. I expected Daniel to be angry. Instead, he just looked tired. She's never going to stop, is she? He muttered. Then his phone buzzed. An unknown number. He answered. And I could hear her voice clear as day. Daniel, please. Meet me. Daniel stiffened. I grabbed the phone and put it on speaker. You're insane, I said, my voice shaking with rage. I just need to talk to him. Alone, she said. Like I wasn't even there. I lost it. You have done nothing but destroy yourself, Sophia. And you're trying to take us down with you. But guess what? Daniel isn't yours anymore. He never was. Silence. Then, she said something that made my blood run cold. I know something about Daniel that you don't. Daniel's grip on the table tightened. Shut up, Sophia. She laughed. Oh, so you never told her? I looked at Daniel. His face had gone white. Told me what? Sophia's voice turned sweet. Oh, honey. Did you really think you were the first woman he proposed to with that ring? The room went silent. I felt like the floor had disappeared under me. What is she talking about? I asked, staring at Daniel. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Daniel, I whispered. Did you give her my grandmother's ring? Finally, he looked at me. And I knew. He had. I dropped the phone like it was on fire. Sophia's laughter rang through the speaker before the call cut off. I turned to Daniel, my heart pounding in my chest. Tell me she's lying. He didn't. It was a mistake, he finally said. I took a step back. You gave her my family's ring? The same ring you gave me? I never thought she'd keep it, he said quickly. When we broke up, I took it back. I didn't think it mattered anymore. It matters to me. I shouted. I felt sick. It wasn't about the ring. It was about trust. Had I just been living in her shadow this entire time? Daniel reached for me, but I stepped away. I need to think, I whispered. And I walked out. I didn't go home that night. I stayed with my best friend, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Daniel had lied. He had let me think this ring, this symbol of our love, had always been meant for me. But it had belonged to her first. The next morning, Daniel texted me. I'm sorry. Can we talk? I didn't answer. Instead, I went to my mother's house and gave the ring back to her. Hold on to it for me, I said. I don't know if I want it anymore. 3 days later, Sophia did the dumbest thing possible. She showed up at Daniel's office. She caused such a scene that security had to drag her out. And then, her biggest mistake, she went live on Instagram. She filmed herself sobbing in her car, talking about how Daniel was her soulmate and how I had stolen her future. She exposed everything. She admitted to faking the emails, to trying to ruin my job, to lying about the lawsuit. And because the internet is forever, within hours, her sugar daddy's wife, the politician, and all her exes saw it. She was publicly destroyed. Daniel showed up at my door that night. He looked broken. I love you, he said. But I won't beg. I stared at him. You lied to me, Daniel. You let me walk around with a ring that she once had on her finger. He nodded. I did. And I was wrong. But that ring, it was never really hers. I never loved her the way I love you. I believed him. But I also knew that I needed time. I don't know if I can trust you yet, I said. His face fell. What does that mean? I exhaled. It means I need to figure out if we can fix this. The end? Sophia disappeared after her public meltdown. No one knew where she went. But Daniel and I, we were left with the damage. The betrayal. The lies. And one very big question, can we ever go back to the way things were?